Hey Earpers, we're doing another episode of There's Something in the Air. We are here today. It's funny because I normally name these episodes with WE in front of them when I'm doing our recording. And I started that today and it's WE Found Family. So the title of this episode is We Found Family, which we found to be slightly appropriate, but like only a little bit. So you are here with BP,
Michelle.
And Monica. And we are going to talk about found family, both on Wynonna Earp and how we have found family in the fandom. And we put it out to you guys to have you write in and share your thoughts about found family and Wynonna Earp and the Wynonna Earp fandom. And so we're going to read some of those emails very shortly. And I do just want to say, like, we joked around about how everyone's kind of doing our work for us because all of the responses were so great. Just so well thought out, and I teared up reading a couple of them. We'll see if I can make it through reading the ones that I'm reading today without doing that. But they were all really, really good, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
So once again, we're going to wait till the end to answer it ourselves because we are going to steal relentlessly.
Yeah, little known fact, we're all extremely lazy.
I think that's a highly known fact.
I think everybody knows that, yeah.
Okay, well-known fact.
Is Opal crying?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, she's going to be in
Why?
the back because she's being really needy and I'm podcasting.
Oh, you are? Is that what you call this?
I'm just talking into a microphone a lot and she's like, wait, that's not to me. The same thing happens when I'm on the phone.
You use your phone as a phone? I thought you were a millennial.
Okay.
Have we switched places? This feels weird.
I think we already established that I'm, like, elderly, so it's fine.
Well, that's true. You are elderly.
Okay, so our first email. I actually got a couple of my Hundy peeps to write in, which makes me very happy. I quote unquote roped them in, so they sent some cool emails. So this one is from Danielle, and she says, okay, to start, this comes at a time where my own family is going through heartache. But families in all their forms are important to me in both reality and in fiction. I guess society likes to say the nuclear family is the ideal, the most important. But reality doesn't always follow. There are a lot of reasons for this, but what's most important is creating the family that's best for you. Be that your biological nuclear family or people that you cobble together from different places and you bond so tightly they are indistinguishable from a blood bond. Okay, you guys, I love the word cobble together.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of my favorites.
That made me happy.
It's a really good phrase.
Because I feel like it kind of describes us all as, like, a little bit desperate, and we're just trying to, like, build anything we can.
Yeah, pull pieces from here and there and just try and get our shit together enough to just get through another day.
But why found families are kryptonite? It's a bit of the above, but also a lot of times in fiction, stories start with the destruction of the nuclear family. Harry Potter starts after the death of his parents. We see the destruction of Wynonna's family. Buffy begins after her family breaks up. In Battlestar Galactica, everyone is impacted by the destruction of worlds. In all of the cases, we watch the characters not only build their lives, but build families that are as important as the ones they lost. We get to see the bonds form, see them tested, and stand against the odds. But we aren't just watching them. We're right there building the families with the characters. In a small way, they become a piece of us. Also, these characters show us that if you have a family that isn't working or is actively dangerous or damaging, they aren't your only option. That you can find people that you will love. It can be your best friends and the school librarian, your sister, your partner, and some guy that knew your great-great-grandpa. It can be your shipmates. It can be anything. You find a home in other people. I love found families because they show us some of the best things about non-romantic love. Okay, I didn't realize I was, like, gonna borderline cry until she said you find a home in other people.
I know, right?
Too much.
Like, should we just end the podcast right now? I mean, that kind of says it all.
This is going to be a feelings fest.
Oh, man, we all love feelings so much. This is great. This is a horrible idea. Who came up with this?
Definitely wasn't you.
It was me. I blame my fandom alter ego, Kathy. She has horrible ideas.
Kathy's the worst.
We have feelings about feelings. We just like really can't pull this off. Yeah. So that was Sam's Jazz on Twitter. She's great. Yeah, she's great. And she did that for me and I appreciate it.
That was really good. My go-to when I talk about anything on TV is usually Buffy, and I don't know that I would have thought of Battlestar Galactica, but oh my God, that's such, just because I watched it so long ago. But that's such a really great example about found family, and that show really epitomizes it. I don't know if you're thinking I should watch Battlestar Galactica. The answer is yes, you should. It's really good.
You know what else is a really good example of found family? Person of interest.
Yep.
Oh man, we should talk about that later or earlier.
What, you don't want to talk about it all of the time? That's just me? Okay.
I don't think it's just you. Well, maybe it is just you.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. Yeah, I have a feeling you guys talk about it all the time without me. Wow, that sounded really sad. Please take that out. I didn't mean how it came out.
Fuck found family.
The best thing about found family is when you feel left out of it. It's the best. It's just like regular family, except you've chosen them.
Wow. Okay, so other people sent answers.
Yeah, all right. So
Sorry.
moving on.
I didn't mean it how it sounded.
Yes, you did.
All right.
No, I didn't. Do you want me to get upset and not talk the rest of the episode? Is that what you want?
Dude, you have to read.
And then you don't have to say anything else, so that's fine.
Okay.
All right. Our next response.
She must bring the sizzle.
This podcast is nothing without the sizzle.
That's right. That's the only thing I contribute.
All right. Our next response comes from Amanda, Mad Hatter 404 on Twitter,
Who we love.
who's awesome and already bought one of our shirts. All right. So she says, at Sandy VJ1 threw me in a chat called Purgatory Drinking Team, and the chaos began. Branched out into many other chats. I talk to these ladies daily, and even if I'm having a horrible day, they brighten it. They make me laugh, lift my spirits, and give me nicknames. Can honestly say I love them without a doubt and would do anything for them. Months ago, I had no idea my chosen family would impact me in this way, but I feel deeper for them than I do my own biological family.
Okay, so like this is us, except for I'm not sure we lift each other's spirits every day.
Not every day. Like, maybe like once a week.
If even.
Whoa.
But we do make each other laugh, and
We do make each other laugh.
give each other nicknames.
That happens a lot.
Clicking Kathy.
Everybody take a drink. Michelle's mentioned clicking Kathy. It's that time in the podcast. I'm reading, like, I read all of these, but I'm reading this last sentence again, and someone's editing and scrolling through the document, which is not distracting at all.
Sorry.
It's this last sentence. Months ago, I had no idea my chosen family would impact me this way, but I feel deeper for them than I do my own biological family. I'm very close with my mom and my brother, but other than that, I'm not. My biological family is not my favorite. And that last sentence really kind of hit me. For holidays, we tend to just spend it together, which is a little bit my fault because I feel, especially when I was younger, I just felt so uncomfortable with all of the rest of my family. I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, and they're all very Catholic, so I kind of felt out of place, and quite a few of them said some very mean things to me when I was growing up about being gay. So I just, I've reached the age where I just don't subject myself to it. We used to go over to my aunt's for an hour during Christmas Eve, and we just don't even do that anymore because it's just it's just not a good time. And I think that if I didn't have my immediate family who I love very much and who I'm close to, and if for some reason, like I very much like my wife's family and I'm close with them, but given the choice of my extended biological family and my fandom family, there is really no choice there. I feel way more about you guys than I do about them.
That's pretty much the same for me. Outside of my mom and brother, I mean, we don't really spend holidays with the rest of our family or talk to them or do much of anything. And like the fandom family that I found is definitely vastly more important to me than my extended family.
Like I had invited my aunts to our wedding, and none of their kids. One has 5 and one has 3. And I was like, I can't afford that. But I think my one aunt, my cousin, was kind of offended. And I wanted to be like, listen, do you remember all of these things that you said to me 20 years ago? Because I remember when I was struggling with being gay and coming out, and you said all these awful things. But that problem has solved itself because she blocked me on Facebook and refuses to speak to me at holiday functions now, which is great. So that's nice.
We call that a win.
Yeah. No real loss there. Please judge my life and no comments on yours. Anyway, I'll move on to the next one before I make this an entire 2-hour podcast about me complaining about my extended family. This next one is from Wyatt Asher Rhodes, who's at WAR Earper on Twitter. I wasn't someone to get involved with things, but for some reason, while watching the season 2 finale of Wynonna Earp, I decided to live tweet. That was an excellent choice, by the way. It was such a great finale and so much fun to live tweet. I didn't use Twitter hardly at all before that, but something just told me to do it. Within just a few weeks, I found myself surrounded by love and support, something I didn't even get from my blood relatives. Sorry. I found a family who accepted me for my goofy and random self. I feel the same way, Wyatt Asher Rhodes. And a few weeks ago, I went through a really rough patch that normally would have sent me so far back into myself that I would have just disappeared. But I turned to some of my Earper family, and they pulled me through. Having a chosen family is something that is very important, and I found mine because of Wynonna Earp. Well, that was nice.
That kind of really hits home, too, because as somebody who, struggles with depression, like, rough patches, yeah, they want to send me, like, right back into my shell to disappear, and nobody, like, in real life a lot of times would know there's anything going on, but I have people in chats who won't leave me alone, and I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, I go through phases where if I'm kind of feeling depressed, I will retreat into myself, and I'll, like, mute Twitter and all that, and then I'll get a whole bunch of texts from different Earpers, especially Monica, who, check in and they're like, are you all right? We noticed that you're not around, and it's definitely really, really helpful.
She's your fan mom.
Hashtag fan mom.
I am her fan mom. Hashtag fan mom. Yesterday, well, you guys know, because you were the two that I told, like, yesterday we were at a craft fair in Columbus, and something happened and it really upset me. And, like, I was talking to Chris about it, and she was trying to make me feel better, but, like, we were at this thing because she wanted to go. She's trying to start her own yarn craft business with stuff that she makes. So I was, trying not to be a jerk. So I kind of let her walk around a little bit, and I pulled out my phone and I was telling you two about it. And, BP, you were around and really made me feel a lot better. And, it's just one little thing, but it really helped. And then when Michelle finally answered, she tried to joke me out of it, which was also appreciated in a different way. Or she really does think I just look like a guy now, which is also fine. I don't care. Whatever.
When you ask both of us, you're going to get one or the other.
Maybe
they'll rotate.
Maybe they will. Maybe they will.
I hope that my story made you laugh and not make you weep.
No one wants to hear. I don't know, Monica. Maybe you do look like a guy.
I feel like my views on that are vastly different than most people, because I really don't care if anybody thinks I look like a guy.
I know. I was just super embarrassed. That's all. And I felt stupid. That was the problem. Not that he called me sir. It was that I felt embarrassed. That's all. I don't like that. I don't like to stick out. I think the boat has sailed on that one, though. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right. This response comes from, Jules Brindisi.
I think so.
Who's
at Jules Brindisi. JULESBRINDISI. All right. I wrote this on an Instagram post after the panel when I heard Kat Barrel's response. I've struggled a lot with issues with my family and have always tried to redefine family with blood bonds. I hope that this post I wrote a while back helps your discussion and others. A fan asked during the September 4th panel, if you had to pick one theme or idea from the show that gave you hope for the world moving forward, what would it be? Cat Barrel immediately responded with that you can choose your own family. This has been resonating in my head ever since I heard this. That answer is very much apparent throughout the show with characters we've gotten to know and love. Nicole doesn't speak to her parents, and we have yet to know why, but seeing the progression of her integrating herself into the Earp family, which she even states, you Earps are a party that's tough to crash, it's hard to not feel like an outsider even for me, shows how immensely mature Nicole is for recognizing the types of people she wishes to align with and confide in the small town of Purgatory. Cut to the end of the season, which is important and pivotal to acknowledge how everyone, especially Wynonna, came together to save Nicole. Everyone understood Waverly's traumatic process of possibly losing the love of her life. Also, it's apparent Nicole chose Waverly as well as the others as her family, even while filing for divorce from her former lover, whom she still had a solid connection with despite their romantic relationship dissolving. As someone who has constantly redefined family, thank you for showcasing the ideals that I have faced continuously and allowing me to be a part of and embrace this fandom as a family. One thing I'm always trying to write in is you can choose who you want to be versus what people will tell you are.
I think that last sentence...
I think that was an Emily quote at the end.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was an Emily quote, which I really like. That's one of my favorite things that she's said. Because it's so true, but it's also really, really difficult to remember sometimes.
Damn it, Opal, shut up!
Wow.
Awkward transitions.
Alright, so another one of my Hyundai people, who's also a Wynonna Earp fan, but we met in that fandom first, is Amy, and she sent an email. She said, okay, here's my thought vomit about my found family feelings. What can I say about the importance of found family in life and in our entertainment? I'm the only child of a single mom, and while I was close to my grandparents, I didn't have much of a relationship with my traditional family / blood relatives at all. And to most of my father's side, I don't even exist. And on the rare occasion I was at family gatherings, I didn't feel like I belonged. I was different than most of them, was raised differently. It would often feel like being in a room with strangers. So even though it's ingrained in us that we love our family and our family loves us, this isn't always the case. I think for most of us, our first foray into the concept of found family is the friends we make in childhood, the friends that become as close to us because they like who we are, the family that you get to choose and they chose you right back. Acceptance. Movies like Star Wars or Stand By Me were so important in my personal upbringing, and something they had in common were these people who found each other often came from backgrounds that weren't traditional family backgrounds, like myself. They came from broken homes and traumatic events. It gave me hope and a feeling that not only am I not alone, but I can find people who'll look out for me, who'll be there for me when I might need them, and vice versa. That just because you weren't born into a warm and loving family didn't mean you couldn't go out and build or find one. I've also noticed that in the realm of genre television, it relies heavily on the concept of found family. Shows like Buffy, The Hyundai, Wynonna Earp, etc. Okay, she said The 100, but, you know.
Nope, it's The Hyundai.
In which you often have people thrown together in extraordinary circumstances, and then they must learn to trust and love the people that were thrown into these same circumstances too. That behind each found family is a coming of age. That one day we all have to leave the nest of the families we were born in, venture out on our own, but often we still can't do these things alone. We can't always go back home again, at least not in the ways of our childhood. So in that, we start to gather up these people who stumble into our path and start to build something of our own. So really, finding family is also about growing up and growing into ourselves. I'm gonna need a minute.
Yeah, that hit home. Where she said that the family get to choose and they choose you right back. That's got a lot of feelings right now.
Everyone just pause for a minute.
I have no feelings. I'm kidding. I have a lot of feelings.
Everyone just push him down, keep going.
We'll be fine. We just keep it together momentarily.
Let's see. 11 o'clock on my schedule. Cry.
Like, why are actual families sometimes so awful? And are they just awful to us? Or are they someone else's found family? You know what I mean? Like, my entire dad's side of the family is not great. Most of them, not entire. And they act like I don't exist. or hate me or whatever. It doesn't even matter. And I wonder, is it me? Or like, or is it them? But it can't be them because they're probably someone else's found family. Like,
Right.
this one cousin that I have who refuses to acknowledge that I exist and who's rude to me is someone else's ride or die.
It's like the family that you're born into is like a starting point. I mean, every single person has found family, whether it's like your close group of like friends from college or like your childhood friends or people you meet on Twitter through fandom. Like everybody has their own like found family aside from the family that they're born into. And I mean, like your relatives, I mean, everybody's different and they have different views and it depends on where they were raised and how they were raised and everything. And I mean, you may be related by blood, but like, I mean, it doesn't mean that you're gonna get along or have the same views. So I mean, I think everybody has found family.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, having blood in common only goes so far, you know, and it usually comes down in a lot of cases if families are very strained to that idea of like, yeah, you know, you would be there for them if you had to, or you kind of have this sense of love for them, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily how you choose to spend your time.
I would not be there for a lot of them if they asked me to. I would tell them to call someone else who they, you know, weren't awful to.
And that would be funny.
If that's how strained your relationship is, I feel like they probably wouldn't ask you for help, so you're fine.
Very true.
I kind of want to be like, oh, you think I exist? Which is, you know, whatever. I got very fortunate with regards to the family that I married into. Chris's family is quite lovely, for the most part.
Cut that.
We're gonna cut that.
Cut that.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. It's okay. I don't think Chris listens to the podcast.
On the off chance that she does, we'll cut that.
I don't think she'd disagree with me. They've never been anything but accepting and welcoming from like day one when I walked in their door. I was engaged to someone else several years ago, and that is just a 180-degree difference from how they treated me. Like we were a few months from getting married, and my future mother-in-law wouldn't even tell people that we were dating or living together. We had to sleep in separate rooms when we were at her house. Like sometimes the family that you choose, you kind of fall into. Like I got very fortunate in Mary and Chris, which anyone who's met the two of us will tell you that is 100% correct. And I got very fortunate that her family has kind of been the extended family that I did not have as I got older. So I do feel very lucky about that.
And then, like, we're both just sitting here going, like, we're single, so whatever. Can't relate.
You can cut that whole thing out. I don't know. It just occurred to me, that's all.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah, the two of us are just kind of... we can't relate, but...
I just can't relate. No, I'm, like, really happy for you, but I also, like, hate your guts, so whatever.
Well, that seems normal.
Opal, what's wrong? Apologies for all of Opal's crying in the background.
Opal's mad that she hasn't become the fourth co-host of the Earpsplain podcast.
I mean, with the amount of crying that she's doing, she may as well be.
She wants to talk a lot about found family. She knows.
She does know. Aw, she'd be nowhere without you, Michelle.
Well, I mean, I did get her from a shelter, and when I found her, it was like the first year she didn't, like... She just, like, hid in corners and, like, sat by the door. It seemed like waiting for, like... What?
She knows you're talking about her. Don't talk about her like she's not in the room.
I'm sorry, Opal. Stop crying. But anyway, yeah, after, like, a year, she, like, became this insane ball of energy that cries a lot, apparently. So, found family. Yay.
Yay. That's the title of this podcast. Wynonna Earp found family. Yay!
Our next response comes from Vicky at VK Special KV, who said, I have conversations with people I will never meet, and it's okay because I'm not a con goer. They make me laugh, check on me, send prayers and hugs. My family thinks I'm nuts, but I've always been a TV fan without a fandom until now. LOL, #EarpMyLife.
That's awesome. It's funny how your biological family doesn't understand fandom at all.
I have kind of stopped trying to explain it to my mom.
Me too.
A little bit. I told her that we're doing a podcast and it's about a TV show and that's about it. And she's, like, oh, okay, great. But has never really understood how pervasive TV has ever been in my life.
Well, when I first, got really into fandom, and it was last year when I went to Fan Expo, on a whim. I was really pissed off with work and life, and so I bought a ticket, real last minute, and just drove to Toronto from Iowa, because I just needed to get away. And when I told my mom that, she was very concerned that I was going to get, murdered by these fandom peoples. But, I wasn't remotely concerned, just because...
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
As long as you stay out of the forest, you should be fine.
Yes.
But yeah, now I think she completely understands it, because I go to, all of these damn cons, and I'm making a podcast with you guys and all this stuff, so...
Making a podcast that your mother listens to.
Hi, Mom.
Even though she doesn't watch the show.
Which is awesome. And didn't you say she was maybe going to buy some of our podcast merch to display proudly at work?
I think she's buying a mug.
Nice.
Amazing.
She's a fan.
Shout out to Michelle's mom.
Hi, Mom.
Okay. Our next email comes from Bridget, who is at Bridget on TV on Twitter. And I read this one already in my head, and I teared up a little, and I'm going to try and get through this without sounding ridiculous, so apologies in advance if that doesn't happen. And after she sent this email in, she DM'd me and was like, I'm sorry, it's so long! But no, it's perfect, thank you.
It's a bit of a novel, but it's fantastic.
It's a good novel. 5 stars. I saw the question you posed recently about found family and how the Wynonna Earp fandom has become a part of my family, and knew I had to add some thoughts. I often think about how this show has been around for less than 2 years. Wow. That's totally true. How is that even... Anyway, sorry. I often think about how this show has been around for less than 2 years, and yet, in that time span, I've met so many people I talk to on a daily basis, and could no longer imagine my life without them. The first time I met Earpers in person was at Fan Expo, the fall after the first season aired. I admittedly was pretty nervous, even though some of the people I planned on meeting I had spoken with and gotten quite close to online. Still, you never know how people will be in real life, do you? No, you do not.
That is so true.
It's really true.
It really is true.
Also, I just want to interject. When you're surprised about 2 years, you do realize that our trio just met in September.
It's crazy. It's
That's
crazy that
baffling.
it's just been a couple of months, and that I've only known Michelle for a year. It seems like longer. For better or for worse.
Every day with Michelle seems longer.
I am a handful.
You are. It's fine. You're still young. You're still growing.
This is the shit on Michelle hour.
It's your turn.
Yeah, that's accurate. It's just really hard to believe that it's only been, Fan Expo was last September. That's 14 months ago? I feel like I've known, Michelle, you and Heidi and Angie and Belinda for ever. I mean, we're planning 2 vacations next year that we're meeting up at next year twice. Let's try that again. There are 2 vacations we're planning. We're all planning on getting together next year, and we've barely been friends for a year. It's really cool. I feel very lucky. Sorry, Bridget, that we went off in a tangent in the middle of your email. That's how good it is, and how long it is that we have to break it up into sections and talk about them individually. Still, you never really know how people will be in real life, do you? Turns out that first interaction with Earpers has been no different than every single subsequent interaction I've had with Earpers since then. There was no awkwardness and no weird moments. It was as if we all already knew each other, and now we just happened to be in the same room. Everyone was so friendly and just so happy to be together, to cheer on and talk about this show that brought us all together. The next time I met a large contingent of Earpers was then at Klexicon. Klexicon was a little different in that I was finally meeting some people there for the first time who I already had considered some super close friends, even though we never met in real life. It basically went just like Fan Expo, where we picked right up and we had been friends our whole lives. Plexicon served to really solidify a lot of the friendships I've made in this fandom, and it brought me to a new level with a lot of these people, for which I'll forever be grateful. Opal has a lot of feelings about this email, Bridget. I don't know if you can tell.
It's really resonating with her.
It really is. Like we said, no one has stronger feelings about found family than Opal. My parents and some other friends still hear about these experiences and don't quite, quote unquote, get it. They will talk about my internet friends, or my mother will say, "Oh, are you going to be seeing your Wynonna friends?" It's like, nope, they are just my friends, Mom. It's like people on the outside of the fandom can't quite fathom why we all feel so strongly about each other. But it's kind of like I've said all along, if you get Wynonna Earp, then you get me. That's proved to be true time and time again, and why I feel so at home with this fandom and the Earpers. On the surface, the Earpers who have become some of my closest friends are so different than myself. We grew up in all different places and have a wide variety of backgrounds. And yet, Wynonna Earp, this crazy little show, has brought us together, and for that I'll be forever grateful. I now have people who just accept me for who I am, and love me for that. One thing that being a part of this fandom has done has also made me see the kind of privilege I grew up with and live with a lot in my life. In some ways, I'm ashamed how blissfully unaware I was of a lot of the problems facing others. Getting close and becoming friends with a lot of Earpers has really opened my eyes and made me see this and made everything feel a lot more personal. I think in many ways, Earpers have made me a better person, and one that I like a lot better than the person I was almost 2 years ago. I'm forever grateful to them for that. But before I take up all the time on your podcast with my thoughts, too late, Bridget. I just hope all the Earpers know how great they are and how lucky I feel to have them in my life on a daily basis. Their positivity, kindness, and willingness to stand up for each other inspires me, and is something I'll never stop being grateful for. I often joke that being a part of this fandom feels a bit like a cult and we should all be calling our dads. That very well may be the case, but it's one I don't want to be leaving anytime soon. Thank you, Emily Andress and the Wynonna Earp cast, for fostering and helping to build this environment. I definitely count Earpers among my chosen family, and I wouldn't give them up for anything. Sorry for all the rambling. Thanks for allowing us to get all our thoughts in, and can't wait to hear from everyone else.
This is definitely a cult, but I don't think we need to call our dads.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hard pass on that myself. I don't think it'll work.
No.
I'm gonna mute my microphone for a second just to definitely not blow my nose because I was crying. Excuse me. Hey guys, you're just laughing. I don't know what happened.
Literally nothing happened. We just are still laughing.
Oh,
that's what I bring to the table. This is what I bring to the team, the humor.
This is the sizzle.
This is the sizzle. I just did jazz hands. You can't see them, but they were there, trust me. And I look so good today. So I tweeted a picture of myself with the cat.
So our next shirt should be, can somebody draw a picture of Monica doing jazz hands?
And it just says, saying, I bring the sizzle.
Or just sizzle, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't know what would be best. We look forward to hearing from you guys. And my God, I think if we sold a t-shirt that had me on it doing jazz hands talking about sizzle, I think that I would probably be the first person to buy that. Or I might buy one for Chris.
I would wear the shit out of that shirt and nobody would understand it. They'd be like, what the fuck is this shirt?
I will gift one to someone if we do that. That will be our next giveaway.
I bring the sizzle.
I bring the sizzle. That's amazing. Thank you, Bridget. Your email inspired this great dialogue. What would we do without you? This, obviously, I'm sure you could tell from how I read it and then the nose-blowing break that I needed. This was really great, and I think that a lot of us feel this way. Like, I've talked about this before on the podcast, I think, and definitely on my blog. Like, anybody who reads it is sick of hearing it. I don't feel comfortable or like I fit in anywhere with anyone ever about anything. The closest I come is this in this fandom and at cons. Like they're they're very anxiety producing for me because I'm not always super great with people, but I'm actually with people who make me feel welcome, and it doesn't, like, I don't know, it's just a really nice feeling.
I can't talk about this email.
I mean,
okay, thank you for that, BP.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the same. Like, I mean, I think most of the fandom, most of the members of this cult feel the same way. But like where I live, like I one person I found that is as obsessed with TV as I am, and for like the first 3 years that I lived here, like I was kind of just like floating on my own, being obsessed with TV, and like I love talking about it, and like some of my coworkers are like, I don't understand.
Root.
Root.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
Now I'm distracted. What was I gonna say? Yeah, they don't get it, and it was kind of I don't know. I felt like I really didn't fit in for many reasons, and then I found all of you guys, and now it's, I mean, I can rant about TV all I want, and somebody's always there to like listen or ignore me, but like I can do it and it's fine.
I think instead of you're in a cult, call your dad, it's maybe more like you're in a cult, go tweet at your friends. Like you're in a cult, go on Twitter.
Yep.
I love how this podcast has just turned into us telling each other how great we are.
I like that no matter what happens or who talks, there are my favorite murder references. I think that's really the epitome. Like that's the benchmark. That's how you know it's a good podcast.
God, that podcast is so good. If you don't listen to it, you definitely should.
You should. And if you're going to the Columbus show in February, you will see Michelle and me. Or if you're going to the Atlanta show when's the Atlanta show?
January 27th.
January 27th, you will see BP and Jean from the Adulting 098 podcast.
And one day we'll all do like a live podcast ourselves.
Oh my God.
It's going to be a
Talk
shit
about
show.
Beautiful disaster, yeah.
Oh, also, if you're going to go to the St. Louis show on December 8th, I'll be there too.
Oh, right.
Another place I was not invited.
That is actually, I didn't know they were going to be in Columbus, and I got invited from my extended family who I don't talk to, and I was like, what, my favorite murder? Yeah, totally. And now I'm kind of like, oh, fuck.
I'll go with them.
BP, I think we need to like mark out that day in our calendars and need to be available for emotional support from Michelle.
I got really caught up in the I really just was so excited about being able to see my favorite murder live.
I'm registered as an emotional support animal.
Did you say December 8th?
Yeah, I believe it's December 8th.
Okay. I think it's funny too that you were like, well, I didn't know they were coming to Columbus. How much closer is St. Louis for you? Like, well, see, Opal knows what's up.
Well, I mean, I don't know. For that one, I'm gonna like drive up for like the show, and I think I'm just gonna drive back right after the show. It's gonna be like 10 hours of driving at night, but it's fine.
Oh my God,
dude, so geography dangerous. Is hard.
I guess.
I think I'm gonna fly to Columbus, so it's fine.
Okay.
Because I've been told I need to fly to Columbus by my mother.
She's probably right. We're driving. We just drove to Columbus and back yesterday.
Well, it's like an 8-hour drive to Columbus, and
right.
It's going to be in
February.
Yeah, when the roads probably won't be super great.
Right.
All right, anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
We digress.
We did digress, but I think we've calmed down enough from that, emotional muster block that Bridget Leszewski provided us with.
Yeah, we needed a little digression because we
did.
One more response.
Bridget is banned from all future podcasts.
Can we maybe have a discussion about that before you make a sweeping generalization?
Bridget, you're always welcome on our podcast. Just don't make us cry.
Okay, I think that's not a thing either.
Is anybody going to jump on if I say this is a cheer-tatership, Torrance?
I told someone the other day that this was a cheerocracy, and I thought it was hilarious, and I'm not sure that they did, but...
Fine, Bridget, you're back in.
You're welcome, Bridget. I have your back.
I'm nothing if not a gracious overlord.
You're right. You're nothing. Anyway.
All right, we have one more response.
We can't be too nice to each other without really undercutting it.
It's true.
We don't want anybody getting a big head.
No one wants that. Then our hats wouldn't fit.
So true.
It's very true.
And hats are very important to 2 of the 3 people on this podcast.
Very important.
I'm wearing a hat right now. All right, last response. It comes from Megan Smith, who's at Nutmeg on Twitter. And she wrote, I met my Earper family for the first time at a tiny pre-Dragon Con meetup. I walked in alone, not knowing anybody, and it was scary, but I was welcomed with open arms. I met so many people during the weekend, my head was spinning a bit. But everyone was so sweet and kind. I made some really lovely friends, and by the end of the weekend, I found myself feeling super sappy and tearing up waiting for my flight back home. That's when I knew there was no going back.
So did Michelle.
Because her wait was 14 hours.
I'm going to finish reading this, and then we can discuss.
And then we can discuss what an asshole you are. Please continue.
Oh, man, why am I a part of this podcast? All right.
Because you can't live your life without your twin or your sizzle. That's why.
All right. That's when I knew there was no going back. These people, in such a short amount of time, have become incredibly important to me, and they're going to be a really special part of my life. Earpers are the reason I'm excited to wake up in the morning. The care they have shown me is not something I get a whole lot in my real life. While I do have some real family, it's my chosen family, my Earper family, that really gets me. I share more with them because they accept me for who I am, and they don't question anything. My chosen family is something that's very important to me, and I'm glad that Earpers are a big part of mine. Agreed.
Yeah, that's all I've got left in me.
Agreed.
And the reason is because I'm like prepping up for my own answer, so I'm like, ooh, I cannot respond to all of these comments.
I feel like I've already given my own answer in all of my agreement with all these responses.
You're not getting out of this.
All right. But anyway, yes, I've also found myself crying in an airport after hanging out with Earpers. I feel like it's a common thing.
It was probably for different reasons.
Just because you were so sad about all of those captchas.
I mean, I hadn't slept much over the weekend, and I got to the airport at 5:30 in the morning, and I didn't get home until
9 o'clock that night, I think.
It was 10:30.
Right? Yeah.
And I spent I don't even know, 10 hours in the Atlanta airport being super tired and screaming to the Earpers I had just left on Twitter about how I was living in an airport.
The same thing happened after Klexicon. So Michelle crashed on our couch the day before Chris and I left Klexicon. And her flight got canceled. Oh no, we got in the car, we were driving to the Grand Canyon, and we invited her to go with us, and she was like, no, I'm gonna catch a flight home. She found out on her way to the airport that her flight was canceled and she wasn't flying out until the next day. And I was like, dude, you totally could have come to the Grand Canyon with us.
Yeah, it was. I have not had tons of luck with flying. I had no issues with New York Comic Con.
That's true.
I was. My friends were you guys, and my friends from locally were texting me. They're like, so how long do you think it's going to take for you to actually get home this time?
You got lucky on your first flight though, right?
Yeah, we went to the Amy Acker panel for that whatever show she's on right now. I don't know.
Acker Hour. I think that's what it's called.
Yep, for Acker Hour. And I just that finished, and after I remembered how to breathe from being in her presence for an hour, I got to the airport as quick as humanly possible, and actually caught my flight. It was a miracle.
Having just experienced my flight being canceled or being bumped off my flight, which I think is what actually happened, for the first time last week, I have to say it's not an experience that I would recommend.
No, it's really shitty.
Yeah, I was stressed for you.
I don't know which one you're talking to. Probably Michelle. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh my god.
when I finally got on a flight out of like Atlanta, I showed, because I got like my boarding pass thing for like the 6:30 a.m. flight, and it was like 3:30 that I was getting on the flight, and I was like borderline in tears because I was just so tired and I had like no energy and I couldn't function. And when they called my name to get my boarding pass, I like almost hugged the lady. Like gave her my thing.
Whoa.
And she was like, "Oh, you've been here for a while." And I'm like, "I have. Thank you so much for letting me on this flight." I sat down in the chair and I passed out instantly. And I was only awoken when the snack cart smacked into me. I've never been that tired. It was not great. Anyway, BP, what does found family mean to you?
Do we I'm sorry. Do we want to talk about like what the show says about found family at all?
No.
Wait, does Wynonna Earp cover found family at all?
Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like one of the main themes of the show.
Right.
Well, someone said that. It's like you have, a cop, a dragon, someone who was friends with your great-great-grandpa. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you just find your people. And then you do things for them, for your people.
For your people.
I thought you were going to scream at her. You scream at me when I say it. I cannot believe you just said that right now.
When you did that on Facebook, I was just like, come on.
So you're saying that maybe someday you'll yell at her for doing it?
Oh, dude, fuck off. You can't just maybe someday somebody in the middle of a podcast.
Pretty sure I just did.
Especially when it's on 2 shows.
Yeah, that one, oh, man. Now I'm thinking about, somebody talk about something.
So one of the, as Michelle said, which may or may not make it into the final cut of this podcast, one of the big themes of Wynonna Earp is found family, and that's why we wanted to talk about this. So just, I mean, like you said, you've got like a dragon, your great-grandfather's best friend, your actual sister, some nerd who may or may not be psychic or a seer or something, a revenant who, makes medicine for your dragon, a cop who doesn't talk to her family who was surprise married,
a cat named Calamity Jane,
and
Gus.
Sheriff Nedley. Gus, yes. Well, since we didn't see Gus in the last season, that's why I didn't mention her.
But she took Alice.
She did
Gus
take
is
Alice.
still in our hearts. And Kirsten.
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 Never forget.
Mercedes pre-widow.
I'm excited to get to the last episode of this season because we'll talk about my favorite supervillain, Chrissy Nedley. Also part of the found family.
But is she really?
I mean, she thinks she is. It's so good. I just got really excited to talk about the finale. Anyway, your family is who you make it, and sometimes, parts of your actual family are included in your found family, like Waverly is. And sometimes parts of your actual family are kind of a dick. So they're not part of your found family, and you have to shoot them, like Willa. But one of the great lessons that Wynonna Earp, the show teaches us is your family is who you make them. And, they'll do anything for you, and you'll do anything for them. And it's a really good feeling. It's a really good feeling, sorry guys, when you've found your people.
So, I'm going to throw in my thing. I'm an only child. And I did not have a great relationship with my parents growing up. They were always very supportive and have always been there to just, do anything for you, that sort of thing. But as far as having a relationship, it was very strained for a long time. And it wasn't until we kind of had ins and outs in my early 20s. And I would say it wasn't until I turned 30 that something happened and we just came to a point where it was like, they are probably the most important people in my life. And they, sorry. we hit a point in the road where a switch was flipped, and it came from being like a parent-child relationship to all of us being adults. And that's a huge and hard transition for a lot of people. And now that I have that, I wouldn't give it up for anything. And I know also I don't take it for granted because I know so many people don't have it. However, being an only child means that, you know, they're my primary means of family. So though they are at the center, there's still kind of a different part. And I found myself having to branch out and build that. And that's been true my whole life because so much of, you know, being an only means being a lonely. That's terrible. I just said that. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop myself. I was just going to say alone, but then, oh man, it just happened. So I find myself often being alone, and the older that I get, the harder that gets. So finding people who are not only just there, because, you know, I have friends from college or friends from whatever, like, I would do anything for them. But we more have, like, that past and that bond. It's not necessarily that we have tons of things in common and want to do all sorts of stuff together. You know, I mean, I spent the day after Christmas last year with my college roommate, and it was amazing. You know, and it's always about catching up or whatever, but you don't regularly see these people or regularly talk to them. It might be only once every 6 months. And so to actually have people in your life that you're communicating with on a regular basis, and you still feel the same way about, you know, that if you were to ask me anything, I would absolutely do it for you, is just, is really important to me. And I try to build that and facilitate that and kind of incubate that as much as possible in my own life. Okay, fuck you guys.
Dude,
That
was really great.
that was really good.
I need a minute, okay? I'm gonna have to mute my microphone again.
It's a lot of feelings going on.
This was a bad idea.
This is all Monica's fault.
What isn't, really? That means a lot. I know you're not just talking to me. Mostly, obviously.
I'm sorry, did I not lead with, this is to Monica, my ode to Monica?
I heard it in your tone. So it's cool. Michelle, do you want to go next, or do you want me to?
I will say this, it still can be difficult when the people that you consider closest to you are not close to you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're valued any less. Boom.
You're a fucking asshole.
I really am.
All right, I will go.
Awesome. How am I going to follow you two?
Do you want to go? You can go.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Happy holidays, motherfuckers.
I don't think my answer is going to be nearly as
Eloquent.
yeah. I'm just not that good with words.
Good thing you were there with the words plain, BP.
Beep-splain.
So when I graduated college, I had a really close group of friends. One person that her and I were joined at the hip, like, all through college. And it was really difficult kind of getting out of that setting because the people that you're really close to, everybody grows at different paces. And a lot of my friends kind of stayed in a more college mentality. And then I went and, like, bought a fucking house and did some things that, like, they can't even fathom. And it's difficult when the people that are closest to you and, like, you believe know you best, kind of fall out of that role just because everybody changes. And it was really, really difficult because I felt really alone out here in Iowa because I don't necessarily get along with tons of people out here just because of differences of opinions on things. Yeah, so I felt really, really alone. And then when I joined Twitter and started entering fandoms, like, everything changed because I found people that actually, like understand me and are like either at my level or they just are accepting of whatever. And it helped me a ton because I was really not all that happy with where my life was at just because I was super lonely, and finding all of you guys on Twitter, people that I talk to all the time, it kind of like saved me. And that's why like people don't understand why I go to all of the cons. I spend all my vacation days going to cons and doing all that, but it's like a chance to hang out in person with like the people who changed my life for the better, I guess. And yeah, that's my answer.
We love you too.
Oh, shit. Like you, oh my God.
Top that, Monica.
Ditto. I'm gonna Patrick Swayze this shit. I don't mean to turn this podcast into Monica screams about issues she has with being gay, but it's probably about to happen for the next 30 to 60 seconds. Growing up, I had a very hard time, and most of that was tied to feelings I had with regards to being gay. I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, very Catholic. I went to 17 years of Catholic school, including college. My first interaction, my first found family that I really ever had was my friend Jenny. We met when we were 15. She came to my high school. She was only there for a year and she left. The year after that, a rumor got started about me that I was gay by some fucking bitch who I was just telling my mom this week that I will never ever forgive. And my mom, who's super Catholic and all about forgiveness like Jesus was like, that's all right. Some things you can't ever get past.
That bitch.
Yeah, really. Lisa, if you're listening to this because you're an Earper, you were the original that bitch. You were the worst. And I know that you tried to kiss another girl in high school after you started that rumor about me. So, just saying. So Jenny was really my first found family. I unfortunately developed feelings for her in high school. We kind of grew apart and then kind of found our way back to each other in college. And she's one of my best friends now. Still, she was one of the first people to... So all growing up, I tried to overachieve for all of the faults that I saw in myself, being unattractive and fat and gay. So I was pretty smart, so I, tried to do everything perfectly. And Jenny was one of the first people that I ever met who didn't care about any of that other stuff. When I told her that I had a crush on her in high school, her response was, well, how did you feel about Beth? Like, it was just, well, what did you think of our other friend? Like, I'm not weirded out that you were attracted to me. I just want to know if you liked me better than her. Finding this fandom has been like finding her times a million. I always felt weird and stupid because I cared so much about TV and I have all these feelings, and so I would, which was nothing like my actual family. My brother tells me all the time, told me at my wedding while I was getting married, standing in front of everybody, he whispers, "I think you're adopted." And I started to cry, which was great. I'm not making that up. That happened. Finding this group of people who has accepted me and likes me for who I am, who I don't feel like I don't have to pretend. I don't have to, do all this other stuff perfectly. So you don't realize who I really am as a person. Like, that means a lot to me. And I'm married and I love my wife, and she is one of the best things that has ever happened to me in my entire life. But she doesn't get this part of me. And, it's easier sometimes to talk things out and to talk about problems with someone who's a little more removed from your life than the one who's married to you, who sees you every day, who, you know, just who is your like giant champion, who can be maybe a little more objective. But finding a family and people who mean that much, who don't just ignore who I am, but maybe like it and don't care about all of these like negative things that I think about myself. It's just a really good feeling.
It's just like Amy said, you choose them and they choose you back.
Yes. And I feel very grateful for everybody that I've met through this fandom. And I think we all feel that way.
Well, and it's cool. The really cool thing about found family is they don't owe you anything. You know, it's not like that blood bond where people feel obligated in some sense, which it's not always true with everybody. But the idea of blood, you know, runs pervasively still in our society of like that you owe them something, even extended family or whatever. And found family isn't like that. They're there because they want to be. And there's something so beautiful about that.
I'm sorry.
I thought that was Monica finally falling out from the tears.
Maybe it was, and maybe Michelle just knew to apologize on my behalf. I mean, we're not twins, but we're, you know, like acquaintances or whatever.
Hashtag fan mom.
Hashtag fan mom.
Well,
hashtag fandom kid.
So, I mean, how to word what I want to say. So, like, outside of, like, the people that you're friends with, like, the world sees you, like, the way it wants to see you, and it's not necessarily, like, who you really are. But, like, friends in, like, chosen family, like, they see you for you, and they accept you for you, and it makes, like, dealing with all of, like, the bullshit with, like, the world a lot easier because you feel seen by some people.
Right, yeah, and what you were even saying earlier about, like, people from college and stuff, I think one of the hardest things in life is leaving college, because you're basically starting over, and if you don't go somewhere with the same people, you know, like, you don't realize how many of your friendships in high school and college and all that are based on location and life stage. And when you move beyond those things, it's like, okay, but who really knew who you were and who really just saw you in this particular role, and then as soon as you start to grow out of that, like, it doesn't fit their perception of who you should be.
Yeah, high school and college, it's kind of like its own like ecosystem.
Fishbowl.
Like, yeah, so like the friends that you have in high school and in college are a product of, I mean, you spend like every damn day with them, so you form really strong bonds, but when you leave that setting, it's, I feel, maybe this isn't true for everyone, but I feel like distance from those people that you used to see for, you know, 8 hours every single day, kind of, it highlights what your differences are. The friendships you have in school are almost forced because, yeah, you're going to become friends with the people that you have to see every day. But when you're out in the quote-unquote real world, like, everybody grows differently, everybody, you know, people become their own person, and it isn't always the same as who they were in the, like, the fishbowl of school. And that's, and it's also amazing how, like, once you do leave, like, that system, like, it's extremely difficult to make friends.
Oh, so hard.
It's like, oh man, it's ridiculous. And like, finding everybody through this fandom is like, it's kind of miraculous because it's so hard to make friends. But like, I have friends internationally. Like, I could take an impromptu trip like almost anywhere and have somebody that I like could stay with, and that's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, thanks for listening, everyone. If you
Maybe that point didn't come across like I wanted it to.
No, it was really good. It's just, you know, I do so much better in, like, the written word, not the spoken one. My poor wife. So talking about these things is really hard for me. And it affects me a lot. So I don't know. I don't want to say it makes me uncomfortable. It doesn't make me uncomfortable, but like it's difficult. I mean, we've all teared up. Well, two of us have teared up talking about this stuff. Which two? You decide.
I am like a robot.
You definitely teared up. I don't believe for 1 second that you didn't.
My voice cracked, but I didn't actually tear up because I don't have tears.
I had them surgically removed.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. BP, I love you so much right now.
Thank you.
You guys are such assholes.
You love us. You were talking about how hard it is to sometimes leave your college friends behind and move on. All of mine stopped talking to me, with the exception of one, so that made it a lot easier for me. I think that's part of the reason why I appreciate all of you guys so much, too. It was like they finally got to know who I was outside of... They were my friends from the sorority that I was in. And they finally got to know me outside of that dynamic. And it was like, see ya! And they never talked to me again, which is a really great feeling. And one of them ran into Jenny at a concert or something and was like, oh my God, Monica fell off the face of the earth. And I'm like, bitch, I've had the same phone number since I was 20 years old. Don't even. You stop talking to me. But that just makes me appreciate all of this found family. All of my fandom, found family, and, all of my in-laws so much more.
I think this episode should come out this week before Thanksgiving.
Love it. I think that's a great idea.
I agree.
It's important.
It's so important, and I really do think even though, like you were saying, Monica, it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because it hits a place deep inside you that oftentimes is something we want to ignore because we have to keep making it through the day. You can't constantly be that exposed. And it makes a difference to people, and there's so many people who don't want to talk about it, but there's so many people that it will resonate with.
Yeah, I generally avoid feelings.
You're just going to listen to this on repeat as you're making your turkey, Michelle. Like getting ready for Thanksgiving.
I will not. That's going to require too many feelings, and I will be stressed out.
Well, if you're out of salt... Is that a thing that happens in your house, Saltita? If you're out of salt, you can just cry on the turkey. It's perfect.
I actually just bought more salt because it's kind of my domain.
It's Hedda.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Mini Hundy Spiral.
Hundy Splain!
Hundy Splain.
I said Heda.
Ooh, no.
Yeah, no.
I'm ignoring you guys being assholes to me right now. Every week, we like to talk about the new reviews that we got. Apparently, we got 2 1-star reviews on iTunes, so many thanks for those, but why didn't you tell us what you didn't like about it? It's probably my voice.
It's cool if you leave a 1-star review, but please tell us why. We're just curious. You don't need to like the podcast.
You know what? Maybe it was Chris, because you guys are so mean to me. Maybe it was Chris and her mom.
It was probably you.
I haven't rated or written a review for our podcast yet. I'm waiting a couple more episodes to see how it plays out. You can't change that shit. Like, I need time.
You can't change it?
I can't change even if I tried. Even if I wanted to. Sorry, a little Mary Lambert for me.
God.
I don't think you can change it. I think it's permanent.
That's why I really like when people leave reviews that's like something, like a nitpick about like the show itself, and you're like, well, that wasn't quite a review.
No, I'm sorry that you don't understand. You were sad that you didn't see the underground springs in the well, or you want to know how they're running an entire homestead on a gas generator. But what did you think about us talking about that? Like, that's the important part.
No, if you want to go on a tangent about gas generators in the reviews, please do. I want to hear your opinions.
Please do. Michelle's begging you. Yeah, she wants to hear all of your...
We'll read it on the air.
She'll read it on the air.
I love that you're blatantly not picking on anyone else's issues that would be wrong in reviews, but just stuff that we've done tangents on in the podcast.
I mean, if you have a theory on that broken tap.
If you understand why there are pockets of warm weather amongst the snow in Purgatory, I want to hear that.
Please email us or write reviews on iTunes. We're lonely.
All right, say your thing about the website and the merch, and then I'll do our outro.
All right. So we just launched our official website, which is earpsplainpod.com, and we also launched our shop. So if you go to earpsplainpod.com and hit shop on the menu, it'll redirect you there. We have 3 designs currently up.
Soon to be 4, as soon as someone makes that Monica Does Jazz Hands picture.
Please do that, because I want that shirt.
Jazz Hands Kathy. Super looking forward to it.
Yeah, so those are up now, and we'll let you guys know when there are new designs up, but, go check it out. I put so much effort into making that. Can you please give me positive feedback?
I would like to give you positive feedback on that right now. It took you 10 minutes to do what it would have taken me 6 months to do. The podcast looks really good. Michelle did a really great job with it. And just many thanks from me for all of the work she put into that. And on a personal note, she's also made my website better. She's like, you need a menu. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try and figure out how to do that. It's done. Okay, great. Thanks, Michelle.
There's also, on the website in the menu, you can click on Earp reviews. I directly linked to all of the Earp reviews that Monica has done. And we will be adding more stuff as we go along. It'll kind of be like a central hub for all the content that we create.
And just a quick bit of self-promotion, if you guys don't mind, although I guess, BP, you can edit this out if you want to. There will be another series of Earp reviews coming soon. I'm still waiting to get some responses back and to send some out. That's my bad. But I'm hoping to get the first ones up Monday, November 27th, and to run for 4 weeks. That is currently my plan. I haven't quite set out a schedule yet, and I need to harass some people for answers, but just the ones that I've gotten back so far are really, really good and entertaining. And, not to pat myself on the back, but I have come up with some of the best questions I think I have ever asked. And that also was with the help of BP and Michelle. They really came through when I needed them, when I wanted to ask kind of crossover questions about Wynonna Earp and shows that I don't watch, meaning The Hundy, and they both really helped me out on that. So thanks, guys.
No problem.
Also, just to point out on our designs on the shop, they are shown as t-shirts, but there's also like mugs, stickers, cases, all sorts of crazy stuff. Wall art. I saw there was a tapestry. It's like a banner thing I almost want to hang in my house, but I don't have the wall space for that.
We should order one, and then we'll all sign it and do a giveaway. I bet there are at least 3.5 people who'd be into that. Speaking of our designs, shout out, as always, to Chantal Ziegers, who is at ZiegersSC for doing our designs. We, you make us look so good. Thank you so much, Chantal.
Cool. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is going to come out on Tuesday, and on Thursday, after everyone hears this, it is American Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to everybody if you're with your actual family or your found family or any families or anywhere. Just happy Thanksgiving from Something in the Air.
Thanksgiving is, for multiple reasons, one of my least favorite holidays. If you are having a hard time and you need to talk to someone, please feel free to DM me or the podcast, and I'd be happy to chat with you a bit. If holidays aren't your jam, or if Thanksgiving specifically isn't your jam, just reach out and know that I'm here to help.
That is Monica's offer only.
Only me.
I will be busy panic cooking, so you can DM me. I just probably won't get back to you.
She won't answer it. Nobody's going to talk to Michelle from 3 p.m. Wednesday to really whenever you wake up on Friday. So 11 a.m. Just kidding. It's probably more like 6.
You can always DM any of us.
I mean, I didn't want to speak for you.
I just did. Cheer tater.
Great. That's right. Earp-tatership. If you have anything you want to say about this episode, please tweet at or DM us at EarpsPlainPod. You can leave us a voicemail at 678-871-0098, or you can email us at somethingintheair@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at Lesbienzer, BP at Beep33TV, and Michelle at MicNick1291. Did you love this podcast? We would love to hear from you. Rate, review, and subscribe to us on Google Play and iTunes. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And remember, it may be a shit show, but it's our shit show.